Like, we're 6 months into the case, Mike. You over here doing interviews, meet and greets, and you've never, nor did your assistant, ever interview Crystal. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Grace, and this is Graceless Crimes. Before I get started, a little content warning. There are mentions of sexual assault in this case, so be mindful before we get started. That little trigger warning. So, today we're going to be going over the Duke Lacrosse scandal and the recent confession of Miss Crystal Magnum. The story is tragic and honestly triggering for a few reasons, but let's jump right in. A little background on the case. March 13th, 2006, a 28-year-old single mom of two, Crystal Magnum. She's a student at North Carolina Central University and an exotic dancer, gets a call for a job with her and another dancer to perform at a house down in North Carolina, in Durham, on North Buchanan Boulevard. Okay, so it's her, another dancer. They're each going to get about $400, and it's for the Duke University lacrosse team. She goes, she performs, and there's few conflicting pieces of information when it comes to what happens next. After the performance, she claims that she leaves after getting into a little bit of an altercation with some of the members in the house. But then there's also a police report showing that she got into an altercation with a dancer she came with. We're going to put her on an involuntary hold at a local drug and mental health center because it looks like Crystal might have been intoxicated and a little touched on some benzos, which might have caused the argument. When the police get there, that's their course of action. And then one thing leads to another. They ask her some questions, and then she says she was assaulted. Crystal tells the police that she went back to the party and was assaulted by 3 members of the lacrosse team, who happened to be 3 of the 4 co-captains of the team at the time: David Evans, Colin Finnerty, and Reed Seligman. She says that she came back to the party, they dragged her to the bathroom, they took turns assaulting her, and she was reporting it to the police at that moment. So a lot of things happened very quickly. Within a couple of weeks, the Duke president, Richard Broadhead, actually suspends the entire team. He doesn't want no games. He's like, look, you're all suspended until we can find out more, which a couple of people felt like was pretty premature considering they didn't really have evidence. All they have at this point is her bag is still there. There's some fingernails in the bathroom, evidence that she was there. Okay, and then they have the eyewitnesses that she was obviously there. She was hired. So there's that. That's all they have. So the president kind of doing this kind of is criticized because it's strange that he would go after his own team. Whatever. Now, we're in April, May. There's a prosecutor at the time, Mike Nafong. He's up for re-election, and so his conduct in the case kind of throws things off a lot. First of all, I'm going to put my glasses down for this. Mike Nafong presses charges against the 3 players, Seligman and Finnerty in April, and then Evans in May, despite inconclusive forensic evidence. The public sentiment is completely turned against the lacrosse team. And initially, the charges are pretty harsh. It's rape, sexual assault, and kidnapping, which is like unreal considering these kids are 19, 20, and 23. Okay. Again, there's no evidence, but that's what he's going to charge them with. The president at the time then goes forward, reinstates the whole team. But at this point, public opinion has soured. People are pissed. And here's why. So we'll just stop for a moment and kind of take a look at everything. It's 2006. We have 3 white men at an Ivy League university being accused of assaulting a black exotic dancer. We are in the Deep South. And I know 2006 seems like it was progressive, but it really wasn't. My point is, it's the perfect storm. Okay, we have The former New York Times public editor Daniel O'Krant even writing about the case, saying, "Conform too well to too many preconceived notions of too many in the press. White over black, rich over poor, athletes over non-athletes, men over women, educated over non-educated." So it was just something that caused a divide in the country. And it really kind of showed people that we aren't as united as we seem, okay? And we've seen it before and we're seeing it now, so whatever. By December 2006 is the end of the year, and the entire case is falling apart. The only thing that's consistent about Crystal's story is that she's consistently changing the story, okay? And then we have the fact that the DNA evidence actually didn't link any of those 3 accused players to the crime. However, did find some DNA of some other men. So Miss Crystal was having a time, and good for her. But in this case, it didn't look good. Unfortunately, Mr. Mike Nafong, the prosecutor that was just running up for re-election, he's worse. So I'm not defending Crystal, but Mike Nafong made everything worse. Here's why. First of all, he was facing accusations of withholding evidence, and he was making misleading statements to the press. So this led to an investigation of the prosecutor. So Crystal's getting investigated by the prosecutor. The prosecutor's getting investigated. It's a hot mess. Now, this is petty, but I like petty in cases where it actually, warrants it. And the defense attorneys actually turned to the North Carolina State Bar and saying, you need to intervene. And for the first time in history, the state bar brings charges against a sitting attorney because he's lying. So in the first weeks of the case, Mike Nafong is out at the press bumping his gums. He did 50 to 70 interviews. And because of Mike Nafong, he starts putting into the press's head, well, this was racially motivated and the entire lacrosse team was covering up for these 3 players. Yeah. We're 6 months into the case, Mike. You over here doing interviews, meet and greets, and you've never, nor did your assistant, ever interview Crystal. That's unheard of, okay? You get a case, you interview the witness very early on so that you can get that evidence, because things stay fresh in people's minds, okay? So Seligman, Finnerty, and Evans were arrested, and he never interviewed the witness. He's doing interviews of himself. I don't know who all he talked to, but he talked to everyone but the damn people involved, okay? Now, because of this, there's an investigation going on, and they're gaining on Mike Nafong. He drops the rape charges, leaving the sexual assault and the kidnapping on the table, right? So the case is weak. It's getting weaker. There's no physical evidence. Obviously, there was also allegations that Mike Nafong was known to be harder on Duke University students in the past. Who knows? Maybe he was bullied by one back in the day. I couldn't tell you, but that's just a wild guess. And also they're saying that he was conspiring with the DNA lab director to withhold exculpatory evidence that, had he given early on, would have actually cleared these players of the accusations. Taxpayer dollars hard at work, as usual. So by April, the North Carolina Attorney General Roy Cooper drops all the charges, citing that there was insufficient evidence and there were significant inconsistencies in Crystal Magnum's testimony. And then right after, Mike Nafong gets disbarred for his conduct in the case, including holding the exculpatory DNA evidence and making false statements, and becomes the first prosecutor in North Carolina to be disbarred for trial conduct. So you wanted to make a name for yourself, Mike, and you sure did. Even served a day in jail for criminal contempt about lying because he shared DNA test results with the team, or so he says. Didn't. He said he shared it with the defense, never did. So he resigns from his position as a Durham County District Attorney. There's a disciplinary hearing, And then, of course, as they should, the 3 players, file a lawsuit against Durham and all the others involved. I believe they also sued Duke University. And to my knowledge, I wasn't able to find out what Seligman, Finnerty, and Evans made, but reports are saying they made upwards of $20 million. So now, here's the aftermath of this whole thing, right? So the media frenzy, of course, gains national attention, and the media paints the story of these like privileged white lacrosse players, attacking a Black woman. She's underprivileged, she has kids, and it stirs a broader conversation about race and class and privilege in this country, which it seems like we've never stopped having. So, and then we fast forward to 2013. Where are they now? Okay. So in 2013, and Crystal Magnum is dating a man named Reginald Day. They got in a little fisticuffs, and she stabbed him, and he ended up passing away 10 days later, and she was found guilty of second-degree murder. She was put in jail for 14 to 18 years, despite saying that it was self-defense. The gag is, back in 2010, she actually did have an attempted murder of her live-in partner, Milton Walker. And for some reason, like, instead of them convicting her of that, she got like contributing to delinquency of a juvenile. They gave her injury to personal property and resisting a public officer. So Crystal started to have a history of violence after this Lacrosse incident. So all of a sudden, very recently, we get an interview by a podcaster named Katerena DePasquale. She has a podcast called Let's Talk with Kat. Shout out to her. She was interviewing people in jail, and Miss Crystal Magnum was one of them. And in this public interview, she actually admitted to fabricating the rape story from 2006. She actually even goes to say, I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't, and that was wrong. And she says that she feels like she did it because she wanted validation from others when she should have got validation from the Lord Jesus Christ himself. I love it when people go to jail and then find the Lord. Like, I don't know if it's too little too late, but again, who am I? Just a civilian. So now Let's Talk with Kat has been getting some backlash because they're like, people are saying, why didn't you dig deeper? Other people are saying, why did you even give her a voice in the first place? My personal opinion is people are mad that they weren't the ones who broke the story. So shout out to her once again. Crystal also describes her relationship with God in prison has really helped her understand why she lied, and that she has grown, and that she expresses deep regret and harm that false accusations caused. She wants to help children who've been sexually abused, and really wants her story to teach others the importance of telling the truth and the impact of false accusations. And she does express, regret, and says she hopes that the players can forgive her and that they can all heal. Something to note is that only 63% of sexual assaults even get reported to law enforcement, and false accusations remain really infrequent, and it's very rare for them to be false. So about 2 to 10% of those 63% reported are false. So the false accusations that Crystal made really create like a climate of skepticism, because then people don't want to come forward because they don't think people are going to believe them, yada, yada. And that's because there are these rare false accusations. So this really sucks, but it is nice to see that she actually finally came forward. So not all hope was lost, because, these young men actually did go on to live their lives. Reed Seligman transferred to Brown University in 2007, and then he graduated with his bachelor's in 2010. He got his JD from Emory School of Law in 2013, and then he went on to be a senior associate at a law firm. And David Evans graduated from Duke. He got his master's of business admin from Wharton, and he actually joined a digital company that is based on growth and like buyout investments, and he's been a partner there. And then Colin Finnerty left Duke. He took some time off, and then he actually went to enroll at Loyola for lacrosse, and he did continue to play. Session really brings nearly 2 decades of closure to a case that had really lasting consequences for the accused, and also the public's understanding of sexual assault accusations in general. And it is really a reminder of people making sure they verify the claims and the impact of claims. In my opinion, yes, she lied, but the prosecutor didn't do the due diligence that they needed to make sure that there was enough evidence to even go after these kids. So again, people should still come forward if they believe that they were a victim of these matters. But if prosecution had done their job, we would have never been here. We never got this far. So that's all I have to say about that. But I would love to hear your thoughts about, Crystal Magnum's confession. Do you think it matters? Do you think that the closure is finally there for these young men? And I would love to know other thoughts, but comment, share, subscribe, all the things. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.